Wisconsin Eye's 2014 election coverage is brought to you by the Wisconsin Hospital Association. For over 90 years, a valued voice for Wisconsin hospitals, supporting high-quality, high-value care in communities like yours.
Wisconsin Eye is at the Milwaukee Public Library interviewing candidates in the 2014 elections. We're interviewing Mr. David King. He's from Milwaukee. He's a Republican running in the 4th Congressional District. Mr. King, welcome back to Wisconsin Eye, because interviewed you when you last ran for Secretary of State. Correct,
yes,
sir?
Thank you for having me again.
And just a programming note, Wisconsin Eye appreciates the support of the Wisconsin Hospital Association, which represents more than 139 hospitals and health systems, for making these candidate interviews possible. Mr. King, let's start with something I find intriguing that's on your website. You would repeal the 16th Amendment to the Constitution, which authorizes the federal government to tax the nation's residents, right?
Yes.
And you say you'd replace that with a fair tax. My question is, what do you think would be a fair tax?
Well, a fair tax to me would be one that it removes the power that federal government has right now on the residents and the citizens of America when it comes to taxing. They're overpowering themselves in taxing, and I think that we need to revise it, and because of the taxing and everything that's going on right now, I mean, if we look at how much money we're in debt right now with other countries, I think that we need to replace it, and we need to have a new system in place that will take a lot of burden off the citizens, and then that the federal government only has what it needs to operate and not really burden the people of this country.
How would that work in terms of how much taxes would the Bill Gateses and the Warren Buffetts pay as opposed to residents of the city, or the 4th Congressional District? Would there be a rule of thumb, or would there be percentages, sir?
Well, I think it should be percentages more, because those in the 4th Congressional District that's trying to survive, they're not making enough to survive right now, and then we're being taxed because government is growing so big that we're being taxed so much that it's hard for a family to survive because of the taxes that's going on.
Well, you last ran for Secretary of State, which was a statewide office, and now you want to run for the 4th Congressional District. Tell me about the 4th Congressional District. Tell me about its greatest needs, sir.
Well, the 4th Congressional District is a district that is hurting. It's a district that's been crying out for the last 6 to 8 years. It's a district that there's no unemployment, there's no jobs. Black male unemployment is highest in Milwaukee than it is in the nation. Black male incarceration is higher in Milwaukee than it is the nation. The education system is terrible. We doesn't have true representation. We don't know what's going on in Washington because our Congresswoman does not come back, does town hall meetings to share what's going on in up in Washington, because what happens in Washington really does affect in Milwaukee, where a lot of people doesn't pay attention to it. We need our congressmen to work with our governor, our mayor, that Milwaukee would be a place where it has a different business climate. Instead of saying business stay out, we'll start saying you're welcome to come into Milwaukee, take all these vacant buildings, and let's put these people to work. Let's give them the proper training that they need to survive and to take care of their family. So Milwaukee is hurting as one thing, and when Milwaukee hurt, South Milwaukee hurt, Cudahy hurt, St. Francis hurt, as well as the North Shore. So we have to start healing Milwaukee and fixing the problems in Milwaukee. Then the whole congressional district, not only the 4th Congressional District, but the whole state of Milwaukee, the state of Wisconsin, the burden would be off of.
Well, what tax incentive or other incentives would you give businesses to open up and hire people in the 4th Congressional District, Mr. King?
Well, first of all, we would work with the mayor to tell the mayor to lift all of the restrictions, because there's so many restrictions that's in the way, because when a business comes, you got to deal with a board. And then the board got to approve your business being here. Then you got to go through the construction, the plumbing, the electrician. Then you got to pull those permits. Then you got to go back before zoning. So you got a lot of things that's in the way of a business that they might not even want to jump through those hoops. But if we can move some of those restrictions out of the way and allow the companies to come in, for an example, Family Dollar Tree on Martin Luther King and North Avenue came in, they set up, they brought the stock in, getting ready for a grand opening, and what I call the gatekeepers of the city fought against it when you lost those jobs and that business left. So, you know, we have to be able to become business friendly to let the people know that we do want their business here, because that will open up jobs for the people in the 4th Congressional District.
And what do you think are the greatest changes needed for Milwaukee Public Schools? MPS, sir.
I think that it needs to be revamped. I think that we need to start holding teachers accountable. I think that they need to remove just graduating people to have their numbers and really graduate people that is going to be productive citizens that can read, that can write, that can do math, and that is ready to go, whether they stay in Milwaukee and go to college or any college, that they'll be ready for college. I don't think they're preparing our children for college. I don't think they're preparing them for those that is not qualified or is not good enough for college. I don't want to use the word good enough, but doesn't have a mindset for college, but have a mindset for technical school, that they can go get a trade. Right. I think we need to define that. I mean, because when we was in school, we had to take a little test and they told us what we was going to be. Well, mine was wrong, because I never thought I'd be a pastor or being in politics, but we need to give them something to dream for.
Well, you mentioned your background as a pastor. Talk about that. Now, you came to Milwaukee when, and you've been very active as a pastor. Are you now leading a church?
Yes. I was born and raised here, and then I left here for 3 years, and I went to Georgia to go into ministry. And then in '96, the Lord allowed me to come back to Milwaukee, and I came back to Milwaukee and started a prison ministry. And it was to help men come back into the society from prison by preparing them while they was still in prison. Then I ran a transitional home called the Mountain of the Lord House to help men that was coming back and to unite them with their family. I started pastoring in '98, and I've been pastoring ever since. And in there, we started an organization called Milwaukee God Squad. Milwaukee God Squad helped over 7,000, maybe 8,000 people get jobs, including felons. We worked with and helped create an organization called Wisconsin Seasonal Workforce Coalition, where we took seasonal companies and connected them with the people of Milwaukee. And that way they went from one seasonal job to another one to another one. And it helped a lot of people that was not even, have not been in the work field for a long time, get back into the work field.
Let's go back to one issue involving public schools. There's a lot of debate nationally over Common Core standards. Do you support those standards, Mr. King?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I will fight against Common Core. I believe the federal government need to get out the way of education and let each state have their own education system where they all compete. Because it's about competing. It's all compete to become the best state with the best education system. Now, that not only that compete across the state, but they can compete across the world. And with Common Core, one size fits all does not work at all.
Okay. On your website, you say you would like to repeal the Affordable Care Act. Why, sir?
Well, the Affordable Care Act, in 2010, I believe it was, Gwen Moore came into town and she talked about Obamacare and told everybody they need Obamacare and told them how great it was for them. Well, as I walked the streets, I talked to seniors who used to pay $42 for their medication, is now paying $142 for their medication. So it has to be repealed. And I don't want to just say repeal it. I want us to have a game plan when we do repeal it, that when we have something put in place. Because anytime something be repealed or something be removed, we have people that fall through the crack. So we need to be able to have something in place that once we repeal it and move it, it'll fall right in the line that our seniors, most of all, is taken care of. And those that are in need can get the help they need, because what she didn't tell them was that they're going to be fined through their taxes at the end of the year if they don't have insurance. They didn't tell them that companies was going to pull back on hours because we have people who I used to work 40 hours, now I'm working 25 hours. So it affects people financially as well as with their medication. So we need to repeal it, but we have to have a game plan that once we repeal it, it's in place, and it's gonna be great for the people of this country.
We're talking days after the vigil for Sierra Guyton,
Yes.
a 10-year-old who was killed in a crossfire.
Yes.
What are your thoughts on how to reduce the level of violence in the 4th Congressional District, Mr. King?
Well, a number of things. Number one, we have to, again, have a business climate to create jobs, because people are frustrated, and when they are frustrated, they take it out on each other and really don't mean to. Then we have to go back and ask Madison to rewrite the child abuse law, because what they did, the law is so broad that it takes authority out of the parent's house, so a parent can't be a parent. And anytime a child know that you ain't got authority to discipline them or to correct them, then what happens is that child can do whatever it wants. I heard them talk about changing the curfew law, but if you took authority out of the house, how can a parent even enforce a curfew law that you want to put in place? So we have to go back and define the difference between abuse and discipline and give the parents back authority, because you can't hold somebody accountable when you take their authority away. And with the authority taken, being placed back, then, for example, when I grew up in Milwaukee, the whole block was policed by mothers. You couldn't do anything on the block because one mother would whoop you and then take you home, and then you would get another whooping. And there's nothing wrong with discipline. I think we allow the liberals to say, oh, you're not allowed to whip your child, you're not allowed to correct your child, you're not allowed to scream at your child, you're not allowed to look at your child any kind of way. And when you take that much authority from me, you might as well take my child, because you're telling me I can't do anything. And there's a lot of good parents in the 4th Congressional District that really are concerned about their kids. And if that law was not in place and parents can parents, you would have never had that shooting, because everybody would have been holding everybody accountable. But now you can't hold anybody accountable. So we have to get that. That's a sad thing. I'm hurt by that. I've seen it numerous of times being a pastor in the city, and everybody saying enough is enough, but you won't do what it takes so the parents can become parents again.
Gwen Moore, in response to the vigil after the death of Sierra, wrote a letter to Holder saying the U.S. Justice Department should do all it can to fight gun violence in the city of Milwaukee. Do you have any thoughts on her response and that letter?
Well, the first thing I want to say is she has to stop using families' tragedies to push something that they've been pushing all along. This is just another push, taking somebody's tragedy to get you some gain, because those was not law-abiding citizens that did that. Those were two young men who did not value life, who did not think about life, who did not pay attention to life, wanted to do something that was so barbaric that it took a young girl's life. Mm-hmm. So instead of us attacking law-abiding citizens and trying to take their guns away, let's do something to educate our children they can value life, and that they can go back dreaming again, and that they'll look at life a lot different. Right now, they don't have no hope. Why? Because if you look at Gwen Moore and her policies and Tom Barrett and what he's done with the city, nobody want to dream anymore. There's no hope in our city. Who's gonna get up and go look for a job when there's no jobs in the city? So we have to fix the problem first. We can't just say, oh, it's guns, move the guns, because a criminal is not going to walk up to the police station and say, here's my guns, I'm tired of shooting. Right. No. So we have to go back, and we really have to look at this thing and says, okay, why is it that a father who's behind on child support can go to jail and do 6 months to a year, depending on how many kids he got, and somebody who did a violent crime get probation? It doesn't make sense. So the system itself needs to be revised, because it's broken right now. So you got somebody that shouldn't be out in jail, should be getting a job, compared to somebody who should have been in jail and not in jail. So we can blame that on the system.
On your website, you say you're an avid supporter of the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms.
Yes.
Do you see any contradiction then? Is there any new controls over guns that you think should be enacted?
No, and the reason I'm part of, I believe in the Second Amendment is because I believe that when you take family guns away, then you make them defenseless, not only to a criminal, but to the government itself. But my son is 21, and he has his CCW. And you know what that does? It makes him more alert on the law, because he asks him, can I carry it here? Can I do this? He don't have to worry about him drinking. You don't have to worry about him smoking weed, because of the fact that he understands that the moment he violates, he loses his rights, his privileges. He's not out there gang banging. He's not out there. He's a law-abiding citizen that just understands the law now, because he did not understand the law. Whether it was a gun law or the castle law, he didn't understand it. But now that he understands it, he's more, and he also understands that he's responsible for that gun. So he's not playing around, letting his friends play with the gun or anything like that. He's obeying the law. So once you train them to obey the law, you don't have this problem, and that's the problem that we have right now. There's no education on the gun law, who's responsible for those guns, because you won't even sell your gun. If you really understood the gun law, you will make sure that you're selling that gun, if you sell your gun, to somebody responsible. And it's just like before you give your son the keys to your car, you're going to make sure he's responsible. And that's what we have to do. We have to educate them that they take personal responsibility on everything that they do out there.
Social Security and Medicare going bankrupt. How would you fix those, sir?
Well, the one of the reasons, the way I would fix it is we have to begin to become more job creation, because it was designed for us to deposit into Social Security, and those that were retiring was able to withdraw from Social Security. Well, what happened is the baby boomers are all retiring. So you had a generation that didn't work. And then they took some of that money and they borrowed that money, and they never was able to put it back because we've been in deficit. And so first of all, we got to stop the bleeding. We got to stop it from the borrowing. Secondly, we have a lot of fraud in Medicaid and Social Security that we need to go to deal with these agencies that are allowing these frauds. And then once we start dealing with those issues and then begin to create jobs, we will get it back right. But if we don't, it's going to be bankrupt very soon.
What do you think should be done with the 10 or 11 million people who are in this country illegally?
Well, that one we have to, I like to say it's time to go back coming through the front door. We need to stop the bleeding, first of all. And what I mean by that is we have to tighten up the border. We got to get the border tightened because so many is coming in. And being a candidate for the 4th Congressional District, I talk to everybody, and I talk to the Latino community as well as the Black community, the white community, and the Latino community is just as concerned about the border as anybody else. Why? Because you got so many illegals working in companies that they can't even get the jobs now. So we have to go, first of all, and stop it at the border, first of all. Then there's policies that's already in place that we need to enforce, because not enforcing them, now you got all of these children that's coming, and they're about to be laid on all of us.
Right.
So we really have to go back to see, are we following the proper procedure? Because America always welcome people. They always welcome. Just come through the front door, and let's do it the right way. But at the same time, let's give the Border Patrol what they need to stop it at the border.
What about the 57,000 children who have crossed the border now? What should they be allowed to remain in the United States and stay with relatives, or should they be deported back to Guatemala and Honduras?
Well, that one, if you're human, you say that they need to stay, because what about them? How's it going to happen? But when you really look at it, you got to ask yourself, now, in Wisconsin alone, you have families that is below poverty, can't eat, can't keep the lights on, can't really buy the kids the proper clothes they need for school. Mm-hmm. And now you're talking about bringing extra kids into, then where's that money coming from? And how are we going to take care of all of those kids, as well as the ones that's already here that's legal and can't get taken care of? So, those are the questions that need to be answered. If they're coming, where they're going, are we going to send them back? And our president is really not addressing that. Gwen Moore is really not addressing it. And then if she does address and say keep them, then what about the ones that's already in your district that's struggling? And where is that extra money is going to come from to take care of those kids? And I know they talked to the Archdiocese to say to bring them into Milwaukee. I was reading some today, they were talking about Milwaukee and Madison. And they want to do it to the big cities because you know why? It's less fight in the big cities, rather you take it to a small town and everybody, hey, here they come. So, let's do it in the big cities where we can sneak them in. So we're just as bad as, guilty of the problem as anybody. And when I say we, I'm talking about government, because now you're going to sneak them in our big cities and most people ain't going to realize they're here anyway.
There's a national debate, as you're well aware, over same-sex marriage. Do you have a position on that, sir?
Yes. I do not support same-sex marriage because of I'm a pastor, my moral values. I could not support same-sex marriage. I will not discriminate with them. I'm also a manager of a restaurant. I will hire them. But as far as me compromising my values and my morals, I could not do.
There's a proposal for a constitutional amendment to overturn the Citizens United ruling. Do you support that ruling and don't think it should be overturned, sir?
I don't think it should be overturned. One of the things about it is, and the Democrats always crying when they're losing. Every time they lose, they cry, oh, we need to appeal this, we need to appeal that. I heard Mary Berkeley. She complained about outside funding coming in, but yet you going outside the state to have fundraisers. So, if you're not good at it, then, don't do it. But don't attack the citizens or anybody that wants to give, long as the candidate is not being brought, where he's not taking care of his district. If you buying me, then I got a problem with that. But if you're not buying me and you believe in what I stand for and you believe that I'm going to really take care of the residents of the 4th Congressional District, then I don't have a problem with it. I share with my grandkids, if I sell who I am, then I didn't teach you right. I'm going to run this race as the best candidate for the 4th Congressional District as who I am and my morals, my values, but I will not sell myself or change who I am just to win an election, because I still got to look at myself in the mirror and I still got to look at my grandkids and say, you know what, America is for sale. Sell yourself. No, you can be successful by standing on your morals and your values.
Let's talk about international issues. In light of the Iraq War, the Afghanistan War, what lessons do you think the country has learned about when we should commit our soldiers, send them to war in the Mideast and some of these other international areas, sir?
Well, I really don't believe we learned the lesson yet. I look at it, and you look at Iraq and you look at Afghanistan, and now they're becoming hideouts or safe havens for terrorists. I really don't think that we have really learned the lesson. I think that what we need to do is my mom used to say this: if you're married, you pick and choose your fights. You don't fight every fight. You have to pick and choose. And the ones you pick and choose, make sure it's going to be benefit for both of y'all and not just you when you pick and choose to fight. And that's what we as Americans have to do. We got to learn to pick and choose, and then we have to learn to take care of our troops when they come home after we chose a battle, because these are the people who risk their life for our freedom. And then when they get back, we say, thank you, see you later, and we're not really taking care of them. So I think we need to learn how to pick and choose fights and how it's going to affect us. I think we need to pay close attention to the safe havens where the terrorists are and make sure that we keep them controlled. If not controlled, to let them know that America is not a weak nation, that America is still strong, still vibrant, still one of the best nations in the world, and we will defend, when it's time to defend, and keep our allies, to let our allies know we got your back. We shouldn't turn our backs on our allies because it makes us popular with another country. I don't believe in that.
Well, in the last year, we've learned a lot about the practices of the National Security Administration with the leaks from Mr. Snowden.
Yes.
Do you think the NSA has been a rogue agency and done too much spying on both Americans and international leaders, sir?
Well, with America, yes. And I say, if you and I can't have a conversation on the phone without us knowing it's being recorded, I think the government, again, they're getting too big and they're getting too bossy and they becoming the bully and they're watching your life. They're doing this. One part of Common Core, I found out that they have they got these sensor things that they detect our kids in their database that they're keeping all of that in. That's too much. When it comes to internationals and our enemies and stuff like that, I think we need to be alert. I think we need to understand what's going on. I think we need to understand if we have a way to understand that an attack is coming, that we prepare for that attack. If we got our ambassadors in another country, we need to make sure that they're safe and they're representing our country properly. I think we need to make sure our troops are safe and that we're not just leaving them out there to dry. We have citizens that works overseas. I think we need to make sure that they're safe and being over there and that they are proud to be an American. I don't want them to go over there and our troops go over there and we're not giving them what they need to be successful. You know, if that's the case, bring them home. You know, I think so. We need to watch what's really going on because everybody's watching us, so we might as well watch back.
Question on energy policy. Do you support construction of the Keystone Pipeline, Mr. King?
Oh, yeah.
You do?
I do. And I think that'll create a lot of jobs in the inner city of Milwaukee and as a whole. I think that will not only, I was doing a study some years ago and we can drill here in the United States and never have to worry about overseas because we got enough here. So, you know, it's just something that, do we really want to do it? You know, and then you got people that saying the environment and the animal. So you're never going to ever agree to say, okay, let's produce our own and let's, you know. So, but yes, I do support it.
And then finally, if you want to, do you want to highlight any differences between you and your opponent in the primary?
Well, I mean, when you look at myself and Dan, I know Dan Sebring. I had lunch with Dan right before I announced and told him I was running. I doesn't look at it, the primary as a bad thing. I look at it like preseason for the football team. Okay. And we need to put our best player forward if we're planning on winning the Super Bowl. So myself, I'm a pastor. I work in a nonprofit organization. I have created jobs. I used to patrol the streets of Milwaukee to keep it safe. I know how to relate to people that's in South Milwaukee as well as Shorewood. I'm a person that is versatile. I can relate to the whole district. It's not a color thing. It's those that can really do it. I have a vision for Milwaukee. I have a bigger mouth than Dan. I can agitate the mayor. I can be a bully to get what we need. I think that what we need in the 4th Congressional District, we need somebody that is going to be a bully. We need somebody that is not going to be a career politician. I am not a career politician. I'm a servant. So I know how to serve the people. I want to represent the people. I will hold town hall meetings so the people will know what's going on in Washington. We really don't know what's going on in Washington unless you watch Fox News, CNN, or whatever news you decide to watch. My opponent, he tried it 3 times. Did not succeed in 3 times, and I commend him for continuing to try, but I think it's time to put somebody else up that is going to give the people a better chance to winning the 4th Congressional District. Not only win it, but keep it. I mean, the Democrats had it since 1949. It's time for us to take it back. When you put us head-to-head against Gwen Moore, I have a better chance of beating Gwen Moore than he does. And the reason that is the people in the Milwaukee area where it's primarily dominant Democrats, they know me. They crossed over in 2010 and voted for me. They'll cross over again because they know they're not looking at the R in front of my name. They're looking at David King, The pastor, David King, the person. This is a man that when I was down helped me. This is a man that don't lie to me. He just tell it like it is. So I have a better chance to beat her because I can address things to her that she did not do for the city, and she can't use racism. So I believe that I am the better candidate. I believe that my affiliation with the community, with the business owners, that they know that I will fight for them. The churches know that I will fight for them. And we need a change. We need somebody that's going to be strong, that's going to be voiceful, and ain't worrying about will they re-elect me, but worry about can I get something done. And I have a goal, and I tell people as I travel the 4th District, hire me for 2 years. If I don't do anything, fire me in 2 years, you know, because that's what we need. We need somebody that's going to be gutsy. We need somebody that is not voting to keep a career, you know, and Gwen Moore have been voting to keep a career. I'm voting. I'm going to vote that's going to be the best interest for the 4th Congressional District and the people of the 4th District.
Thank you. David King of Milwaukee is a Republican candidate in the 4th Congressional District. The primary is August 12th. Mr. King, thanks for talking to Wisconsin Eye.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.